Hello, everybody. I just thought I'd give you an update on what I've been doing to keep busy during this time of self isolation or self quarantine, working from home. Yes, I am working from home. And, it snowed again today. And, there's not a whole lot to do outside. We can't get our yard cleaned up very well. Can't get the fairy gardens going yet because it snowed a couple inches last night. And it may snow off and on for several days, but hopefully soon we'll be able to get outside more. I have been walking and trying to get some fresh air during this time of quarantine or self isolation. We're not quarantine for real by the health department. Been healthy here in our household. So I needed something to do. I'm quilting, using my Cricut, making things all the time, but I thought this would be the perfect time to keep my mind focused on something. And I've been hoarding this fabric. Now here's a little charm pack that I picked up in my journey. It is the Morris Jewels. So it's a William Morris collection. William Morris was a famous designer, and he did the craftsman movement earlier in the 1900s. But these are beautiful reproduction fabrics in modern day colors, which is what I love doing. Totally love doing. And so a quilt that I have had this book for 10 years or more, I've wanted to make for at least 15, maybe a little bit longer than that, since the dawn of the internet is Dear Jane. And here is a picture of the quilt. It is a historic quilt made in 1863. So using a Wonder Clip for a bookmark. But let's see if I can find the page with the full picture on it, because this is really a tough quilt to make for someone. I like paper piecing, and I like doing traditional piecing. I'm not very good at applique, but here's the whole quilt. You can only see it once a year in the museum in Vermont, but look at those blocks. They're 5 inches, so they finish at 4.5. I love these triangles on the outer corners. I have quilted a few of these that were friends' quilts on my long arm and customer quilts, but I've never made one myself. Then I realized recently that I couldn't buy the add-on to Electric Quilter anymore that had the paper piece version with some applique templates for this. There are several quilt blocks in this. I want to say 100, and there are the 225 patterns from the 1863 Jane Stickle quilt. Jane made this in 1863, but this is what got me. She embroidered in wartime, 1863, and counted the pieces. And that is 5,602 pieces in her quilt. She didn't have a computer. And this quilt has always spoken to me because she made this during the Civil War. We don't know much about Jane. I've done a lot of research on the story of her, and I know Brenda Papadakis, who wrote this, wrote a lot about what they could find in the history and the records, and I love that kind of stuff. I love the stories. And there's not a whole lot of information. We know she was married. We know there was a time where her husband worked in one place and she lived somewhere else, ran a farm also during the Civil War. It's possible, he probably was in the war itself. So I decided to cut into my stash of this. So I bought a kit for another quilt, which I didn't like the pattern, and it is all this, plus I found these in my travels, and I started. Why did I start Dear Jane during the COVID-19 self-isolation stay-at-home orders are in Michigan and have been for nearly a month, which is like the shelter-in-place orders in other states. And I decided I needed something to keep my mind focused, laser beam focus. off of the problems of the world and the fear and the unknown and the 35,000 changes every day of how my business, where I work with, how it was going to conduct itself, and the state changing the rules so we could conduct business. And, it gets so stressful. But it seems to be settling in. We're going to be definitely stay-at-home orders until the end of April, and it'll go bit by bit as we can go back to work, hopefully in May. I know the summer is going to be much simpler, and I'm okay with that. I'm looking forward to a simple summer, kind of like it was when I was a kid. So let me show you the 13 blocks that I have made of the Dear Jane quilt. Here is one. And here's another one of my favorites. Just love that fabric. This one, has a couple of problems. But I have a friend who's made 2 Dear Janes, and she said something that I've heard from other people, but done is better than perfect in this quilt, because when you get them all together, because they're only 5 inches, you aren't going to see the teeny tiny things out of place. I don't do applique well, and I am proud of this. They look like circles. Oh, this one is supposed to be a little wonky. It's like a double pinwheel. But there's a couple things that aren't exactly perfect. I'm going to point it out to you. Now you're going to see it. But see, it'll be great. There's another applique one, and it turned out. How did I do this? I used a washable glue stick. I cut out the melon shapes and I glued them on, turned the stitch down on my machine. Now, is it perfect? No, it's not supposed to be. It's handmade. I love this one with its imperfections. Now, when I get close, you'll see them. Back here, add some quilting stitches and you aren't going to notice all that. I love blue and white. It is one of my favorite combos. And I've done this. Look at. Now, I am a little afraid I might lose some of these points when I sew the sashing, but wait. Finished is better than perfect. Done is better than perfect. Okay, now this one I call the Super Bowl tailgate pizza party. Looks like a football for the super game, and these are, they call them party hats, but mine look more like pizza slices. Now maybe I should have this as a football inspired. I love football. Here's a simple block that I did not have to do paper piecing on, and on the paper piece blocks I've pulled all the papers off the back, starched them with traditional Niagara and or faultless starch, and I like this block too because of its simplicity. And I'm trying to alternate in the Jane Stickle. Some of the blocks have more color in the background, some are more white in the background. So I'm following her lead on these blocks. As the book really doesn't give you any directions. There are some line drawings, but you can look at her block up close and the colors. She didn't use tons of colors in each block. So this gives me some ideas on, like, this one should be predominantly white in the background. And then as it comes together, I can achieve a similar look. But I am not going to put them all in a row. See how these are all in a specific order? Here's the first row, and I've done most of that first row. Yeah, I'm probably not going to be that organized about it because I took all the papers off. And does it really matter if the blocks are laid out just like hers? No, they'll all be in the row. Here's my favorite one so far, is this particular block. It was paper pieced. I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I love the pink and red fabrics. Here, I'll even show you the back of this one. There we go. So those are the blocks I've done so far. I chose to do it now because, Jane did her blocks during a time of crisis. I'm thinking in my mind, she must have done that because she found it therapeutic and she needed something to take on all of her energy and her focus to work on such an incredibly difficult quilt. I like to think that she drafted these herself. We have no evidence of how she may or may have done it. I think I've never ever seen football flying pizza black. Have you? I don't know. I'm thinking a 7-layer salad will be coming up and maybe a guacamole and chips. Don't know. But I am finding it to be very therapeutic. And when I announced on my Facebook group, which is my Creative Corner 3, it's a private group so we can participate and share in maybe group efforts and talking about what's going on with our crafts and different things. I said, I think that Jane must have found some peace in all of this piecing and quilting. Now, she did quilt this quilt by hand. I will use my long arm, and I see that she did most of the quilting is echoing what the block was. I might get a little more wild and crazy in it. Don't know. I usually make up my mind when I put it on the frame. Now, the other thing, I don't think I'm going to make it scalloped edge. I don't particularly like that, but I like the straight line with these way modern looking triangle inserts. I am not good at pieced borders, but I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to try. And it's going to be beautiful. It will not be show quality. It will not be perfect, but I'm looking for finding peace in the piecing. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope that you're finding things to do to keep your mind balanced and finding the zen during all of this time of the coronavirus isolation. And, we're all going through this together in our own way. But I like to think that even though we may be alone, that we're still together here on the internet. And I just hope that you're able to find peace. And maybe you want to do something really wild and crazy and jump in on a Dear Jane. It's going to take me more than a year, maybe the rest of my life, to do this particular quilt. But I've got a good start. 13 is an official collection. Everybody have a great day. Find peace and quilt on, everyone.